Chapter 1. You can't tell him. But I want to, Eiko said. The 19-year-old werepanda, hair in small, gelled spikes today, instead of a mohawk, turquoise admixed with darker blue for a very oceanic aspect, smiled, eyes dancing with mischief. Bridget's lips quirked, but she stared firmly at Eiko. I'm serious. This is my secret to share with him. But it's been weeks, and I've been so good I haven't even hinted that you're pregnant. Not a hint, really. So you haven't suggested that maybe I was eaten for two, or looking extra curvy, or my pick for most subtle. Are your boobs getting bigger? It's almost like you're pregnant or something. Okay, maybe a hint or two, Eiko admitted. But it's been weeks. How long before you're showing? Do you even know the gestation period of half-human, half-dragon hybrids? Or whatever Magnus is? He's human, Bridget said. He's a scientist. Are you sure that's human? It's human enough, Bridget said in her clipped New York accent. Are you sure? Eiko asked. What if the baby is a scientist too? Or half-scientist? Is that something you'd wish on your kid? I'm a scientist too. I invented the dinosaur prod that Magnus is so proud of. He stole that tech from me. He says you stole the tech to travel between quantum universes from him, so it's fair. Are you taking his side? Taking his side? I don't even know what half those words mean. I'm just saying what he says. Well, maybe I did steal his tech, but it was a job. Why do you need a job? You're a dragon. I didn't know I was a dragon then, did I? Because you made yourself forget, right? I don't understand. If I was a dragon, I wouldn't let anybody forget it, especially myself. Exactly, Bridget agreed. Huh? Eiko asked. Don't play dumb with me, young lady. It didn't get you out of your calculus assignment last night, and it won't work now either. I did get you to do half of it before you figured out I wasn't really confused, just being lazy. Well, it's a good act. It works on Magnus. He's a man, Bridget said dismissively, as if fooling one of those was an achievement unworthy of note. And also, he likes showing off. Well, to be fair, he has so few qualities to show off, and not much opportunity. He is a good teacher, though. And that's supposed to get under my skin, so I can show you I'm just as good a teacher and do more of your work for you. That was the hope, Eiko said with a bright smile and fluttered her eyelashes. Scamp, Bridget said and swatted the girl fondly on her ass. But with her dragon strength, only the resilience of a teenager, especially a werepanda variety, would prevent bruising that would make it hard to sit down for a few hours, if not days. Instead, Eiko just shivered. Not from the cold. She liked spankings, and many other types of BDSM, and Bridget was growing into an excellent top. Bridget, a dragon in human form most of the time. Eiko, and Magnus, a human scientist turned reluctant adventurer and warrior for good, had developed into a true triptych or triad. It was the most loved Eiko had ever felt, but it was complicated by the fact that due to a slight magical intercession by Bridget's mother, Aisling, the Queen of Dragons, prevention hadn't worked the way it should, and Bridget was now pregnant. A fact she had shared with Eiko, but was reluctant to share with their other partner. You love it, Eiko said. I love you. I could live without the brat act, Bridget said, embracing the smaller girl, which naturally led to her face being buried in the dragon's substantial cleavage, which was exactly how Eiko liked it. She'd even started wearing her hair in shorter spikes, as the hugs had really done a number on her mohawk. It's a package deal, Eiko murmured, the sound muzzled by her fortunate position. So, why are you trying to give away my secret? Bridget said. Eiko groaned. I was hoping we could just skip to the sex part. When you finished your homework, Bridget said. It is really weird when you say things like that. You're the one who chose to go to college remotely. And if you did your work without my reminding you, I wouldn't have to remind you now, would I? Can't you just let me slide through with B's? I don't need A's. It's not like I'm going to get a normal job when I graduate. You don't know what you're going to do when you graduate. Magnus had a job before taking on fighting evil. I had a job. You worked security for a vampire, Eiko pointed out. I was head of security, Bridget huffed. What's the difference? Eiko asked. I got A's instead of B's. Bridget smiled evilly. Fine, Eiko sighed. The picture of a teenager put upon by the adult forces of the world, intent on killing fun wherever they found it. So answer the question. What question? Eiko, Bridget said warningly. Oh, because it's not just your secret. It's now my secret. I don't like hiding things from the old guy. You wanted to know. I told you my secret. Hearing confidences comes with responsibility. I know, but seriously, how long before you start to show? I bet a month maybe for a human baby, or even most shape changers. Less. Dragons mature faster. Not so I've noticed, Eiko teased. So... I'm going to tell him, Bridget said. Eiko's eyes lit up. I'm going to tell him, not you. It's mine to tell. Sure, Eiko breezed. You could tell me not to tell him. Bridget, as part of her dragon powers, had the ability to make her eyes glow and impose her will on another person, and Eiko found it terribly, terribly hot. Which Bridget didn't really mind, as it had become an occasional part of their bedroom play, and the only reliable way to get Eiko to clean her room. But she had drawn the line at anything out of the bedroom. Eiko was her partner, a slacking junior partner, but a partner nonetheless in their relatively healthy triptych. No, I don't want you to tell not because of my power, or because it would be hot. I want you to do it out of respect for me and our relationship. Out of love, because it's the right thing to do. Fine, Eiko said with a completely deflated sigh. But it's much less fun your way. Not everything is fun, but it's still worth doing, Bridget said. Is that what growing up is about? Bridget nodded. Then it kinda sucks. Why does anybody do it? I've no idea, Bridget conceded. Eiko looked startled. I didn't think you'd admit it, she said. Except when you do things that are fun without regard to how it affects people, and you see their pain and hurt. Well, you either decide you don't want to do that anymore, or you become like Kiki and shut off the parts of you that feel empathy. Bridget gave her a measuring look. Which one do you want to do? Eiko wilted under that look. I don't want to be like Kiki, no matter how hot she is, and how many guys, girls, and whatnot she has wrapped around her little finger. That's better, said Bridget, gathering her into another tight embrace, which led to a kiss, which led to other things, which led to sex, and eventually to Eiko cleaning her room under Bridget's watchful eye and irresistible command. Chapter 2. Magnus looked up from his laptop as two beautiful women entered the area of the house he designated his lab, though it consisted mainly of computers and desks without a Bunsen burner or beaker to speak of. His metal hand wasn't as precise as he'd like it, and he'd shattered enough beakers in his grasp that Bridget had confiscated all glassware, and he'd been told at meals to either use only his left hand or else to use high-density metal cups. This firm message was lightened with love when Eiko and Bridget had presented him a very nicely designed metal coffee mug with his name laser engraved on it. He assumed laser engraved. It could very well have been magic, or Bridget tracing it out with a claw in her dragon form. He didn't necessarily need to know how, but his scientist's mind relentlessly chased down the possibility tree, whether he willed it or not. Hey, oldie, Eiko said nonchalantly, which was how she usually greeted him when she wanted to get on his nerves, which was often. Hey, he said, doing his best not to show any annoyance. It was a long-standing game between them. Hey, Bridget said. She was clearly in one of her laconic moods today, Magnus thought, though that didn't give him any insight to what else she might be feeling. The dragon could be 9 kinds of stoic when she felt like it, and had a much better poker face than the rest of her triad. Her enormous wins at poker nights between the 3 of them had proved that. Magnus didn't especially like poker, but Eiko enjoyed the lingo and flinging chips into the pot. And Bridget liked amassing money, so he went along gamely enough, as he did most things his ladies enjoyed, except for exercise. He waited for either of the women to say more, but was met only with an odd silence. Eiko came around to give him a side hug, snuffling with her nose into his side, an echo of her panda form. "So am I dying, or have you decided to kill me and run off together to Key West?" "Why Key West?" Eiko asked. "Why not?" he responded. "Last time I was there, the water was beautiful. The music was good, and the atmosphere was nice. It's where I'd go to hide out after a successful murder." "You've thought about it?" Eiko asked. Magnus changed the topic. "I've got some intel on the next big evil coming down the pike, if that's what you want to know about." "What makes you think that's why we're here?" Bridget asked. "Well, when you come to seek me out, it's either business, or you've decided I've been antisocial long enough, and drag me out for festivities or hijinks. Since that's not the vibe I'm getting from either of you, I'm guessing it's business." "It's not always so clear-cut," Bridget began. "She's pregnant," Eiko squealed. "What?" screeched Magnus, his voice going up several octaves. "Eiko!" Bridget screamed and blanched. Eiko outran the dragon's reaching arm and sprinted to the very far end of the compound, then decided to keep running. But her feet had a firmer sense of duty and turned her round back towards the lab. But not running, she was in no hurry to face this particular music. Then she thought about how likely Magnus was to say exactly the wrong thing, and how bad Bridget would feel if she accidentally murdered him. Then she started running. Chapter 3. Magnus regarded one of the loves of his life and felt his knees shake. Making virtue of necessity, he sank to one knee and took her hand. "Will you marry me?" he asked. Bridget goggled at him. "What?" he asked, this time in his normal register. "I just wasn't expecting this reaction." "Well, that makes two of us," Magnus agreed. "What, you weren't expecting to propose?" "I wasn't expecting you to tell me you were pregnant, and I definitely didn't expect you to just stare at me if I asked." "You were just thinking about asking?" Bridget said. "Well, yeah, I mean your mom kind of—" Magnus clamped his jaw shut as he realized that had been the exactly wrong thing to say, which probably helped him not shred his cheek or lips when the slap caught him hard across his face. "My mother? That's what this is about?" Magnus looked up from where he sprawled on the floor. Bridget was very strong, and saw tears sliding down her cheek. "Bridget," he said softly, and levered himself up with a hand on the table. His legs still weren't cooperating with supporting him, though this was more due to the slap than surprise or emotion. She turned to him, and he saw the anger in her eyes, which was common, and the vulnerability there, which was rare. "I love you. You have to know that. Hell, I'm dating you after you cut off my hand. That has to prove something." "It proves you're a masochist," she said with a hint of a smile. "As if that needed further evidence," he said with a smile of his own. "I've never really thought about marriage. I'm a guy, and we're kind of dumb that way. Yes, your mother put the thought in my head, but it's more the happiness we've shared. It's been crazy, and I still think the wanting the unicorns for pets was world record dumb. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I want to be with you for the rest of my life." "Well, sure. I mean, that's not exactly a long-term commitment, the way you piss people off," Bridget teased. "I've survived all the people I've pissed off so far," he pointed out. "Barely," she said. "Still counts," he countered. "You really love me for me, not because my mom put the idea into your head?" she asked him. "How can someone like you be so insecure?" he asked her in astonishment. "You've met my mother," she said. "Oh," he said. "Have you guys made up yet?" Eiko asked, peeking around the corner. "I thought you would run off," Magnus said. "I did. Then I ran back. Werepandas are pretty fast." "You," Bridget said, and her eyes turned dark with fury. "Magnus, protect me!" And she dodged behind him. Okay," he said. "Bridget, you don't really want to hurt her, do you?" he asked, trying to keep his thin, gangly body between the werepanda and the dragon. As an aside, he stage-whispered to Eiko, "You know she can lift me and toss me across the room if she wants to." "But she won't on account of how you're so weak and breakable," Eiko stage-whispered back. "Flatterer. Save the sexy talk for the bedroom," he stage-whispered back. "Are you two done with the banta and the hijinks? I have a werepanda I have to eat." "Is that sexy talk?" Eiko asked. "No, I think it's dragon talk," Magnus replied. "Oh, I can't look. How mad is she?" Magnus made a show of regarding their partner. "I'd say on a scale of 1 to someone ate the last bagel, it's a 25. Eiko emerged from behind Magnus, wearing her best hangdog expression. "I'm sorry. I just thought you'd keep not telling him if I didn't just put it out there." "It wasn't your choice," Bridget said, and lifted Eiko up by her armpits, and easily held her suspended several feet off the ground. Eiko was barely 5 feet, with spikes gelled as high as they would go, and Bridget was close to 6 feet, higher with the right heels. "I'm sorry," Eiko said. She'd never felt this kind of scared of Bridget before, and it wasn't fun. "Did you think it was funny? Was this a chance for mischief?" Bridget roared, and it wasn't a lion's roar. It was a dragon's roar coming from her human mouth. "Don't transform," Magnus said, and put his arms around Bridget, to comfort, not to restrain. He didn't think trying to restrain would go over well, and he didn't think Bridget would really hurt Eiko, any more than he would. However, the girl deserved a good bawling out. "Why not? You don't like my dragon form?" "We love you, and your dragon form is part of you." "Then why shouldn't I transform?" 3 reasons. 1, you'd wreck the shit out of my lab, and I'd have to replace all the computers. "Fuck your porn collection," Bridget said. 2nd, I'm worried what it would do to the baby if you transformed. "It's probably fine, but do you know that for sure?" he asked her. That got her attention. "I don't know for sure. I've never asked. Most of us are in form, or the other, most of the time. And pregnancies are really rare among dragons. And I didn't spend a lot of time among dragons, or even know when I was one." "I think we need a crash course in dragon obstetrics," he said. "And the 3rd reason?" Bridget asked. "I was worried you might hurt us in dragon form accidentally," he added hurriedly. "Why?" "It's like you said, you don't spend a lot of time in dragon form. I'm not sure you know your own strength. And Eiko's not as durable as she thinks." "And you?" she asked. "Oh, I'm exactly as durable as I think," he said. "I notice you put that concern 3rd, she said. "It was the least of my worries," he said deadpan. Eiko groaned from her precarious position. Bridget couldn't keep her lips from quirking. Eiko breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that, but the grip on her tightened. "I'm still angry, and I still want an answer." "It wasn't mischief. I was worried you'd chicken out, or at least..." "Or at least what?" "At least you'd be mad at me instead of Magnus." "Why would I be mad at him?" she asked. "You know, when he said the wrong thing." "How'd you know he'd say the wrong thing?" "Come on, it's Magnus. I'm adorable, you're a badass, and he always says the wrong thing. It's what we do," she said, giving what we must admit was an adorable grin. "And those are the only reasons?" Bridget demanded. "No," Eiko admitted. "What else?" Bridget asked. "I thought it'd be funny," she said. Bridget glared at her. "I'm sorry, but I did." "Not everything is about you, or a chance to be cute or cause trouble. This is my life, between me and Magnus." "Our lives," Eiko said softly. "What?" "I thought it was about our lives. You said I wouldn't be left out, that I was still included. Don't you remember?" "Of course I do," Bridget said softly. "Then it's our lives." "You were included. You were by my side, till you tossed a grenade and ran off." "I know." "Our lives," Magnus said. "I hadn't thought—" "You hadn't thought about how Eiko would be affected?" Magnus stared at the 2 ladies, now united in being pissed off at him. He actually considered this an improvement. "Hey, I was dealing with the sudden knowledge that I have a kid, that we have a kid on the way. Something you 2 have apparently known for weeks. Weeks!" He saw from their continued steady glares an absolute failure to look abashed. His attempt to regain the conversation initiative had failed. "Don't give me that dual glare. I'm not the one capable of figuring out the trajectory of this relationship. I always figured the two of you would eventually murder me, feed me to the gators, and run off together." "That's oddly specific." Eiko asked, "Have you thought a lot about disposing of dead bodies?" "Of course, haven't you?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "Of course not," Eiko sputtered. Bridget just nodded in agreement, equally surprised at Eiko's naivete. "You didn't really think we'd murder you," Eiko said. "Maybe not," he started to say. "I mean, I could see you dying during sex. I mean, you don't work out, and you're old, and really that's a lot of exertion for you." "I just meant I don't want to hurt either of you, and the situation where you both realize you don't need me and move on together is the one where I can live with myself." "And where I don't take another part of your body as a keepsake?" Bridget asked with a raised eyebrow. "That too would be a preferred outcome. Do you really have my hand stashed somewhere as a memento?" "I ain't saying," Bridget said with folded arms. Magnus studied her intently. She wasn't one for sentimentality, and he didn't think it was enough of a win to merit keeping as a trophy. Suddenly, insight clicked, and as usual, thought translated to words with no pause for consideration between. "You were thinking about giving it back. What if I earned it, like a dog doing tricks? If I was good enough, long enough, you'd give me back my hand." "Well, your metal hand is a little clumsy, and with a stump sometimes you can't be everywhere I want you to be." Bridget began blushing a bit. It is rare to see a dragon blush, but quite worth it if you can manage it without being killed. Dragons don't like witnesses to their embarrassment. "That's why there's two of us with you in the bed, usually," Eiko put in. Magnus pulled Eiko to him in a sidearm hug, sensing her need for reassurance. "I thought maybe, if we did get married, it would be a nice present." "So the present I would get from you to celebrate our life together would be in fact something that has belonged to me since birth?" he asked, in a voice going up far more octaves than he was comfortable with. "Is it something you have now?" Bridget asked dangerously. "Don't give me the haughty eyes and the threatening voice. You know that only turns me on." "She has a point," Eiko said, trying to diffuse the situation, as she often did. Magnus and Bridget both had very large personalities, if she was trying to be nice about it, and both hated to lose arguments, and would gleefully slice off their nose to spite their face. This did, however, often lead to amazing angry sex, and make-up sex that was even better. But it was much easier to deal with either of them, one-on-one, than altogether. Easier, but only sometimes more fun. "No, it's not something I have now," Magnus choked out. "So maybe you don't be a dick and you might get it back," Eiko said to him. To take some of the sting out of her words, she nuzzled against his waist and gave his dick a pat. "Be cool, old guy," she whispered. "I can hear you," Bridget said coldly. "Of course you can. You're a dragon, uber predator, super strong, super fast, and magic to the gills," Eiko said brightly. "But there's no reason to be a bitch about it. You love us." Chapter 4. Bridget carried the sleeping form of Magnus over her shoulder, and a bedraggled Eiko trooped along behind her, to the large bedroom they all shared, when they were feeling social. They all had separate bedrooms for when they wanted to be alone, which wasn't often. "So, are you sure you want to tie yourself to us?" Bridget asked. "What, don't you want me?" Eiko asked, a trifle needily, but she was only 19. And really, who amongst us is secure at that age? Or at any age? "Of course I do. We do. I think we just proved that pretty well." "Pretty spectacularly," Eiko said and touched her thoroughly tousled hair. "But you're young. Do you want to make a lifetime commitment?" "Lifetime? Do dragons not recognize divorce?" Eiko asked. "I'm not sure how often it comes up. But no, it's not an irrevocable agreement. But marriage is pretty serious, and you don't go in without at least the willingness to make it last a lifetime." "For you, that's a long time." "Were creatures tend to live a long time as well," Bridget said with a warm smile. Look, I know I'm young, Eiko said. I didn't plan on getting married before I turned 20, but I see a lot of my friends dating shitty guys, getting pregnant or being alone a lot of the sad and lonely. I'm happy. I feel safe and loved. And it's almost never boring. I mean, besides the calc homework, and when you and Magnus start talking about quantum whatever. Quantum universes. The math and science that lets us travel between worlds and dimensions. Yeah, that. Total snooze fest. Like, I love going to a world full of superheroes and villains, and like zap, bam, pow, and whatever. But do I have to know how to balance the equations? Yes, Bridget said firmly. You're too smart to be this lazy. And your knowledge, theoretical and practical, might be the only thing that gets us home sometime. What if Magnus and I were unconscious and incapacitated? What would have the power to knock you out, Miss Dragon Princess? Believe me all hopping around. That's a point. Doesn't get you out of your homework, though. I didn't think it would, but you have to shoot your shot, Eiko said with a grin. But I love you, and I'm not blowing this because I'm afraid of commitment at my age, or in the hopes there's something better I'm not experiencing. If this isn't as good as it gets, it's gotta be damn close. And that's not even considering how much grief my mom would give me if she found out I'd broken up with a dragon. I'd never hear the end of it, assuming she didn't have a heart attack and die just for the extra guilt she could lay on me. Your mom's pretty tough, huh? She's the worst, Eiko moaned, putting her head in her hands dramatically. Want me to come visit and terrify her? Bridget asked. Would you? Oh my God, they'd probably build you a temple and run around. They might even say I've done something right for once. And that's after I got Magnus and Phil. And okay, mostly Zeus, to get rid of the ogre that was extorting our family restaurant. So that's a yes then? Asked Bridget with a warm smile. Eiko was certainly the most diplomatic of their triptych, but she could also talk and never stop if you let her, especially about her family. Sure, Eiko said with a dreamy smile, which was replaced by a startled look and then a different dreamy smile. What's that about? Bridget said with a glance over her shoulder. This necessitated tossing Magnus over the other shoulder. He wasn't heavy exactly, and Bridget was more than human strong, but the long, lanky body could get awkward. I'm getting married, Eiko said. I mean, you know, I didn't think about it much. I wasn't that kind of girly, but still, I thought about it. We're getting married, Bridget reminded her. Well, yeah, all three of us, but I mean, I'm getting married. It's crazy. Crazy bad? Bridget asked carefully. Crazy wonderful. Crazy fucking amazing. Crazy absolute fantastic going to spend the rest of my life with my two favorite people. I mean, it's about time you've made an honest woman of me. I won't be a teenage werepanda forever. I turn 20 in a few months. Scamp, Bridget said, but her wide grin belied any sting in her words. If I wasn't carrying 150 pounds of worn-out scientist, I'd swat you. You're going to let that stop you? You can't do something because of a man? What kind of feminist example are you setting for my generation? And then Eiko took off running, because the dragon was hot on her heels the rest of the way to the bedroom. Magnus's eyes fluttered open for a moment, the shoulder jouncing into his gut, bringing him to wakefulness, at least momentarily. He glanced at Eiko's flouncing behind and the fierce grin on Bridget's face, managed a kiss on Bridget's cheek and that's all right then, before falling back asleep. He was very worn out. Chapter 5. Dawn eventually came and was dutifully ignored. Then noon cracked, and bagels were demanded, and Magnus was set on bagel retrieval duty, on the grounds that he had gotten the most sleep, and also that the remaining two were way cuter, and he was lucky to be tolerated sleeping near them, let alone with them. Wondering what this harbinged for post-nuptial life, he nonetheless ventured out with a smile. It was hard not to. He loved and was loved in return, and no one had tried to kill him in days. Bearing bagels, lox, and orange juice, he was warmly welcomed back into the bedroom. Hungers assuaged, Eiko had questions. Didn't you say something about business? Is there some evil we need to face? She asked eagerly. You'll really do anything to get out of your studies, Bridget said in wonder. Of course. Wouldn't you rather fight evil than do math? Wait, don't answer that, Eiko said and stuck her tongue out at the dragon. If you don't like math, you could do a liberal arts major. Do you want to kill my mom? Because having a daughter getting a degree in English, that's what would happen. She's not paying for your college. You get to choose. Eiko looked at them. Really looked at Bridget, who seemed actually relaxed for once, with her head on Magnus's shoulder. I do, don't I? Maybe I could do pre-law. Sure, any idiot can do pre-law, Bridget said. What happened to I can make my own choices? Eiko said. Of course you can make your own choices. I'd just rather you didn't make them out of laziness. It's your future, he said. And you get the consequences of those choices, part of which is your friend making snide remarks about liberal arts majors, Bridget teased. Fiancé, Eiko corrected. Both women glared at Magnus. I didn't do it, he said reflexively. Exactly, they said in unison. Magnus rolled his eyes heavenward at the cruel gods who had chosen to inflict beautiful, but judgmental and demanding women on him. Okay, what didn't I do this time? He asked. Bridget and Eiko, with coordinated movements that he swore they practiced when he wasn't around, fluttered their hands to display their fingers. Ringless fingers. Oh, come on, I didn't know I was proposing, he said. And whose fault is that? Bridget asked. The fault of someone who actually knew about our baby? He asked, glaring at the two women who were undaunted. Eiko actually glowed, hearing that "our" in inclusion of their entire triptych, not just the genetic contributors. Oh, so that's the only reason you proposed? Bridget said, her New York accent growing stronger with indignation. No, but I hadn't thought about it enough to go ring shopping. Exactly, Eiko said. So we've got a plan for today. A plan that conveniently means you won't be attending your virtual classes? Sure, why not? Eiko said with a dazzling grin that lit her face. It's not like they're relevant to my new major. Oh man, I totally have to make an appointment with my guidance counselor and find out what forms I need to switch majors. Eiko paused for a moment from her breathless rundown of her day's plans. Wait, did you ever actually answer about the evilness that we might be facing? Because I have to factor that in scheduling my appointment with my guidance counselor and my phone call with my mom. Why a phone call with your mother? Bridget asked. You think I'm going to tell her I'm getting married over email? I want to hear her squeal. In a good way or bad way? Magnus asked, fascinated in the way of someone watching a slow-moving car crash. Who cares? Eiko responded. Plainly, she just relished hearing her mother lose it. Magnus didn't blame her. Eiko's family life troubled him, but it didn't seem to be anything you could call abuse. So he just tried his best to make her feel happy, safe, and loved now. Of course, that was for a fluctuating value of safe, given his one-year contractual obligation to fight ruthlessness interdimensional evil. But at least that year was nearly over. And soon, someone else could take over the duties imposed upon him by Aisling, Queen of Dragons, and also because, of course, she was Bridget's mother. Oh yeah, the evil. It slipped my mind. So it looks like Russia is cooking up a virus to inflict on the world. Might kill well over 1 million people. Super contagious, and it's targeted, too. Targeted? How does that work? Bridget asked. Damned if I know. You'll have to do some hacking. But what I could find, and this is deep conspiracy Reddit stuff, but it lines up with what I dreamed about. Magnus once again cursed his tongue for moving faster than his brain, which took some doing. Dreamed about? A guiding dream about evil that just happened to feature, let me guess, my mother? It seemed to be a message from the Queen of Dragons, yes, he hedged. Who is? Bridget prompted. Your mother, Magnus admitted. And was there an erotic quality to this dream? Your mother is a very beautiful woman, Magnus said. Geez, Magnus, that's the best defense you can muster? Eiko teased. I'm a scientist, not a lawyer, he protested. You're a man, Bridget said in disgust. I'm not, Eiko said and snuggled up to Bridget. Is this you playing peacemaker? Bridget asked with an arched eyebrow. This is me taking advantage of a chance to grope. Eiko said, and squeezed the dragon princess's full breasts, which admittedly were spectacular and very fun to touch. Bridget would have argued, but her breathing was ragged because she had actually managed to teach some technique to Eiko to layer over her youthful enthusiasm. "You're getting better at this," she murmured as Eiko began nibbling on her neck in a way she quite liked. "Do I get to join in?" Magnus asked. Eiko and Bridget glared at him in unison, in a way that he swore they practiced when he wasn't around. But at least they weren't talking about his dreams, about Bridget's mother. So technically, he supposed that was a win. "So it seems to be targeted at supernatural creatures, minorities, and the LGBTQ community," he said. "How?" Bridget asked. She would have framed the question differently, but she was distracted. "It seems by magic. I don't know a way to do that kind of vectoring by genetic engineering, though it probably could be done. But the rumors..." He almost added the rumors that the Queen of Dragons had guided him to. But Magnus could learn from experience. The rumors what? "The rumors say Vladimir Putin is working with the Russian supernatural community to craft this thing." "Why would the supernatural community help him create a plague that targets supernaturals?" Eiko asked. Bridget murmured her disappointment that Eiko was using her mouth to talk, so the werepanda quickly resumed her more fun activities. "It's Vladimir Putin," Magnus said, as if that explained it. "Maybe he threatened their families. Maybe he had them tortured until they cooperated. Hell, maybe he just threw some of that Russian oligarch money at them. And maybe the rumors are all bullshit. But we have to investigate this, and if it's real, we have to stop it." "Magnus, are you all fired up to do good? I thought you didn't like this job." "Well, it's grown on me. But fuck, really, a plague? That shit is never controlled. And I'll be damned if that homophobe is going to make an honest-to-good gay plague like they said AIDS was. And in case you haven't noticed, my two favorite people are supernatural and LGBTQ. And I am not losing you to that," he said. "Ooh, old guy. Genuine affection and passion. I love it when you get sincere. Come here." "Wait, how did you just forget about this plague till now?" Bridget asked. "Well, there was the proposal, the arguing, and, well, all the floor sex. It slipped my mind." "Really?" Bridget arched the eyebrow again. "Really," Magnus admitted with a wry grin. He didn't look ashamed at all. Bridget gave him a slow, burgeoning smile. "Come here." She echoed Eiko, and the three fell into a familiar pile on the bed. Chapter 6. "I don't see why I, as head of your security, need to be the one who deals with one overly aggressive ogre in your city," said the very tall figure in the fedora and trench coat. "If you don't want to do the work, you shouldn't have taken the job," replied the much shorter woman at his side with a notable lack of sympathy. "Well, it's not like there's a bloody market for used bookstores in Virginia." "You say that, sweeties, but I highly doubt your used bookstore in New York City ever made enough to pay the rent there," she said. Her voice was liquid honey, and the pose she took, hand on her hip in her short black dress, would have stopped traffic and or caused accidents if there had been any motor traffic on the street. But in the deserted neighborhood, only the tall man in the fedora was there to appreciate the study in seduction. That was Kiki the vampire, head of the supernatural community in much of Virginia. The troll, known mostly as the Professor, 10 feet tall when not using a spell to disguise his appearance, had to admit this was true. "You lost money slower," he said. "But still lost money, right? So, you were living on savings from your mercenary days." "Well, yes, but I at least had a hobby. Now it's back to beating up people." "Managing people who beat up people," Kiki said. "Not tonight, apparently. So why do you need me to take a break from managing and deal with things on a more direct vector of approach?" "Because, sweetie," she said, laying a hand on his bicep, and he swore he could feel the tingle of her touch through the sleeve of the trench coat. "Dinner and a movie doesn't do it for me, you know." The Professor did know. He and Kiki were paramours of a sort in the wake of some events. And while it wasn't remotely exclusive, on her end at least, he found himself, like so many other men, trailing along in her wake, living on the peripheries of her affections. "I've got to have Lorelei check my bleeding head again," he muttered. "I haven't put a spell on you since Lorelei removed my last ones. Well, not a supernatural one anyway. You've made your own choices." "Not a supernatural one," he echoed her qualifier. "Just the oldest spell in the books," Kiki said, giving him a dazzling smile. "I thought that was the oldest profession," he grumbled. "I don't know why you have to pretend you don't love me," Kiki said. "It's so undignified. A troll of my age should know better," he said. "Yes, you really should. Oh, look, there's the ogre now," she said and pointed at an 8 feet tall dark green blur moving towards them at speed. The professor shifted into a fighting stance, somewhat resembling boxer Ken Norton, and threw a sharp left jab that left the ogre with a chipped tusk. The ogre growled and said, "Who the fuck are you?" at the now revealed 10-foot-tall, brown and green-furred troll. "My friends call me the professor. You can call me sir," the professor said and leaned back to avoid a haymaker left from the ogre, followed by a wild swing of claws. The troll landed another left and right, and now viscous green fluid flowed from the ogre's nose. "I'm going to kill you and then tear out her eyeballs before I fuck her," the ogre screamed, nearly choking on its anger, but also sounding like he had a severe cold from the rapidly swelling nose. The ogre was wider at the shoulder than the most gaunt form of the professor, but thin at 10 feet height, still meant a shoulder span of nearly 2 well-muscled average-sized men. And trolls had the kind of long arms that can tie their shoes without bending over, which combined with the professor's superior height, gave him an astonishing wingspan. And he used that reach advantage mercilessly, sidestepping the ogre's wider attacks, and hitting him easily with jabs and straight rights from far enough away that the enraged creature couldn't hit him back. "Oh God," Kiki screamed in frustration. "You make even fighting and bloodshed boring. I swear it's your one talent." "I suppose I should let him bleed me a bit just to make it interesting for you," the professor shot back, unwisely taking his eyes off the ogre, who was able to close the distance and strike him in the abdomen with a fist like a piledriver. The troll was able to raise his long arms up to his head and took the next 2 punches and claw swipes on his forearms, and then struck back with another methodical set of jabs and right hands, and now the large green behemoth was bleeding from his eyes and mouth, and half of his other tusk was laying on the street. Kiki dashed in quickly to pick it up and began using her long nails that were as strong as talons to begin some rapid scrimshaw. Vampires live a long time and develop odd hobbies and skills. Kiki's head of security resumed his dismantling of the upstart ogre. "How are you so bad at this?" the professor asked. "Haven't you ever fought anyone bigger than you?" "It's never come up," the ogre said, flailing his arms in an attempt to hit the larger creature, through eyes swelled up so that he could barely see. "So you never sought out anyone on your level? I despise bullies," the troll said, and now moved in with another left and right, followed by a left hook and a right uppercut that lifted the ogre up off its feet and deposited him on his back. The creature's glazed expression indicated he was seeing cartoon birds swirling around his head or some such. The professor dropped his business card on the prone green behemoth. "If you want a job, give me a call. I'll deduct the cost of fighting lessons out of your paycheck. And obviously, don't fuck with any of Miss Kiki's operations again, or I'll be back for another rabbits and pork, and it won't be nearly this gentle." Kiki gave him an elegant raised eyebrow. "Rabbits and pork, Cockney rhyming slang for talk. It's bloody impossible to have a proper conversation around here." "Talking's overrated," she said and gave him a squeeze. "I just got a phone call." "You weren't even watching," the troll began to protest. "I watched. I can do more than one thing at a time." The professor pouted, which is not an expression much associated with trolls, especially ones well past retirement age. "Don't pout, hon," Kiki said, and placing a hand on his elbow, which was as high as she could reach. "This is important." "A call from an ex?" he said. "You really are determined to be a pain about this." "Meaning my supposition is accurate." "As it happens, it was from the boyfriend of a former paramour," she said. Bridget. I'm what he calls her Bay plus Ultra. That's a nice neologism, the professor said. I thought you'd think so, giving him a wry smile. Bridget, your former head of security, part dragon? Yes, but your intel is a little outdated. She's a full dragon. She used a spell to limit her power and memories, so she thought she was only 1/8 dragon. I get that, he said. Well, you use a spell to appear human, and just 6'8", or so I guess you do. You're adept at appearing much less scary than you actually are as well, he pointed out. She rewarded him with another dazzling smile, and he felt his breath catch in his throat. There are so many different types of scary, she said and kissed his hand lightly. It tingled. She turned his wrist and bit lightly, teasing him with her fangs. His legs went weak, and he was kneeling on the ground, still taller than the vampire. It turns out that our modern-day Dracula out of Russia is attempting to whip up a magically enhanced plague to unleash upon the world. And you know how danger, sex, and violence turn me on, she whispered in his ear. Here? He asked. Of course not. You're going to rent us a very nice hotel room, within a few blocks of here. I'm just going to drain a bit of your blood as an aperitif, she said. Yes, he agreed. Yes, what? She prompted. Yes, Miss Kiki, the troll said. Good boy, she whispered in his ear. Then he picked her up and carried her to a nearby hotel. Chapter 7. Helen didn't see the Asian girl with the purple spiked hair step through a hole in the air because her face was buried in between Amy's thighs and was wholly invested in bringing her to her 5th climax of the night. Oh my God! Amy screamed. Helen smiled in satisfaction and continued her ministrations, causing Amy's voice to shake. Oh my goodness! Screamed a voice that wasn't Amy's. Helen turned over her shoulder to regard Aiko, the young woman Magnus was dating along with Bridget, the shapeshifter. Oh my, what the hell are you doing here? The succubus asked Aiko. Yeah, what she said, Amy echoed in a ragged voice. I'm supposed to ask you guys for help, Aiko said. You couldn't have called first? Helen asked archly. Cell phones don't exactly work across quantum universes, you know, Aiko said. Couldn't you have waited till we weren't having sex? Amy asked. Sure, Aiko agreed blithely. But who's got that kind of time? What are you doing here? Amy asked. Amy was a petite redhead, and if you looked close, you could notice the gold that seemed to glisten on her skin. Wasn't glitter, but an actual magical aura that danced around her. I thought we just covered that. No, I mean, why are you in particular here, as opposed to Bridget or Magnus to give us a message? Well, Magnus was going to, but then Bridget objected, saying he didn't want him visiting his ex the day after they got engaged, and he said he didn't want Bridget coming near a succubus. You know how they get. So they compromised on you, Helen surmised. Ha! Aiko smirked. They were still arguing about it when I snuck out to the interdimensional portal thingy and fired it up. They've been bugging me to learn how, and don't know I sussed it out weeks ago. They'll probably still be arguing by the time I get back. Still arguing? Amy asked. They argue a lot, and if I miss the argument, I can still make the makeup sex if we can move this along. So can we? I've got places to be, people to do, etc. Aiko said, tapping her foot impatiently. She also leered at the beautiful blonde succubus and the redhead in a cheerful, good-natured way. Helen glared at her, but Amy quickly put in. So what's the message? And also, did you say engaged? Yes, totally. She showed them the sparkly and very large diamond ring on her finger. And Bridget has one just like it. Well, almost. Hers has a dragon inscribed on the side, where mine has a panda, because obvi. Helen and Amy gawked appreciatively. It's beautiful, Amy said. This is what you're spending our hard-stolen money on? Helen asked. Helen and Amy had worked a surprisingly successful con on a very powerful corporation on that world, and had funneled a good chunk of their well-gotten gains to Magnus's year-long campaign against evil. Helen was a quite cynical succubus, and being fully nude obviously embarrassed her not a whit. I don't know. I don't keep the books, Magnus does, sometimes. And I'm pretty sure Bridget double-checks. Because of course she would. She probably thinks it's fun to catch him in math errors. Hey, maybe that's their version of foreplay. God, I hope I don't get boring when I get old. But we're fighting evil. Oh yeah, that's why I'm here, BTW. You're here because of their version of foreplay? Amy asked, trying to follow the werepanda's speech as it wandered down discursions and byplays. No, I told you they're arguing right now, which might also be their version of foreplay. But I'm here because of the virus. An STD? Helen asked. He wants his ex-girlfriend to clean up after him because of his dissolute habits? Dissolute habits? No wonder you and the old guys are friends. You probably have word of the day contests. Did I mention I really hope I don't get boring when I get old? And aren't you a sex demon or something? How can you complain about people fucking each other's brains out? I'm not complaining about people having sex. I'm complaining about people not taking proper precautions. I, on the other hand, am immune to all known forms of STD. Well, good for you, Eiko said and stuck her tongue out at Helen. The succubus reddened in anger, but Eiko either didn't notice or pretended not to, and blithely pressed on. Anyway, the old guy got a vision from Bridget's mom, the Queen of Dragons, and oh my goodness, hotness guiding him to do some research. And it turns out the guy who runs Russia's gonna unleash a plague or a virus or some such that's going to kill like everybody, not white and straight. And it's also going to target the supernatural community because he's a total asshole and shit. Vladimir Putin, Amy said. Yeah, that's the guy, Eiko said, snapping her fingers. Couldn't remember his name. We're going to have to help, aren't we? Helen asked Amy. You're not going to be satisfied with just throwing money at this? Would you? Amy asked her, with the biggest of blue eyes. Yes, Helen wanted to say, because Helen had a very understanding conscience, but somehow couldn't admit this to the redhead she loved more than anything. Come on, it'll be fun. We haven't done anything crazy or death-defying in months, and we owe him one. He saved me, Amy said. He saved us, Helen amended. We saved you, Eiko pointed out, which was true. Eiko had added the strength of 300 pounds of angry panda to the rescue effort. And that's our home. We can't let something like that happen there. It's not even just a city, it's the whole world, Amy said. Helen could have pointed out that Magnus and Bridget were there to handle it, that it was literally their job. And Helen could probably have lived with that. Except she thought about how a virus would hit her home, New York City. And if Helen had a soft spot, emotionally speaking, her succubus body was full of soft and curvy spots. It was for her favorite city in the multiverse. You're right, she said to Amy. If Magnus is actually asking for help, let alone asking us, the shit must be up to his eyebrows. Good, then you'll come back through the portal with me? Eiko asked. Because really, I have no idea how long the equipment can run without slagging itself. I mean, it's in the specs somewhere, but I didn't really pay attention to that part. We'll meet up with you later. We have some loose ends to tie up around here, Helen said. You mean you're gonna fuck the redhead's brains out, don't you? Can I help? Yes, I am, and no, you may not. Don't you have a pair of fiancés either fighting or fucking right now? Yeah, but she's cute and she's new, Eiko said. Are you guys open poly or closed poly? She asked. Closed to you, Helen said very firmly. You have fiancés, remember? I don't break up marriages. Do, Amy said. Well, yes, I do, but I'm not breaking up yours. Not without a lot of premeditation, anyway. Unless you continue to piss me off. Piss you off? Eiko asked, a picture of askance innocence. What did I do? You're keeping me from seeing how many times Amy can orgasm before she passes out. Like you don't already know that, Eiko said dismissively. It varies, Amy said softly, blushing from her ankles to her eyebrows. Blushing herself, Eiko politely exited the portal and shut down the tear between quantum universes and sought out her fiancés. She was relieved to find them still fighting. Happily, she bounded into Bridget's arms. She could live with missing some of the foreplay if she was there for the sex.